Draft week. Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan spoke yesterday. Jared Jones is the next coming, the savior. A lot to get to today, and we're joined now by our sports director, Jeff Hathhorn, to have a fun discussion. He's on the Fan Hotline, presented by Sullivan Super Service, Pittsburgh trusted plumbing and HVAC provider for over 50 years. Jeff, how are you today?
Morning, gents. It is draft week. Next time we talk, it'll be draft day.
Oh, my gosh.
Crazy.
It is
Quick.
crazy. It did come up on us fast, I feel
Real
like,
quick.
this year. Life comes at you fast. Jeff, were you at the press conference yesterday and then the Pirate game?
Yes.
Which would you like to start with?
It's up to you. Host choice.
All right, we'll go with the press conference because we've spent a lot of time on Jared Jones already. Any key takeaways, or is it just much ado about nothing, these press conferences?
You know what I think they ought to do? I think Mike and Omar should just lay out exactly what their plans are.
Yes.
We want to draft a tackle, then we're going to take a center. We want to get a receiver next. Here are the guys we're really focused in because no one would believe them. They would think they're trying to throw everybody off. They wouldn't believe any of it. So, they could say, well, we were honest with you. See, I get it. And Mike Tomlin kind of saying that he sees cameras at pro days and looks at people that he's not interested in, I thought was pretty funny. But all of it right now is, they don't want to give anything away, and I get it. If there's one thing that I took, it was that Tomlin saying they felt like they've done enough in free agency that it's not as much that they have draft needs as draft wants, that they feel good about their roster right now. Now it's about accenting a room, getting a player here and there. I don't know if I necessarily agree with all that, but you could feel a confidence that it was like it was maybe a few years ago where they feel good about their depth. Now it's about adding and maybe finding a piece here or there.
Yeah, I thought that was very odd. Oh, not odd. I knew that, he was going to be politically correct. Mike Tomlin saying that they feel good about where they're at. And, there's no, what do you say? We're not thirsty to draft anybody, something of that nature. But, if we sit here right now, the 20th pick is coming up in 72 hours. Do they take a receiver with the 20th pick in your mind?
No, I don't think that. I think it's probably what we've speculated. Tackle, maybe center. Center's right at that line where it's like, is that too high to get a center? Or would they think about trading back a little bit and still find a couple of centers right there and adding another pick at some point in the draft? So tackle makes a lot of sense. Listen, you don't know how this thing is going to fall. There may be a receiver that they're in love with that they never thought they would have had. But I do think tackle makes a lot of sense when you look at value at certain spots in the draft.
Percent chance that the guy they take 20th overall came to the Southside facility for a visit?
90 to 95.
Yeah.
That's just been their pattern here for the last few years. And I get it. Listen, if you're going to put that investment in a player, you don't want to just meet him at the draft. You don't want to just see him at the Senior Bowl or at the Combine. You want to get to know everything about them. And, we've seen them do that with a couple of picks. And obviously, it's not just for the high picks, but most of those guys that come in, they're thinking about first or second round.
Odds that they stay at the 20th pick, or do they trade up, or do they trade back?
Ooh. He said they were very comfortable, which could, again, be throwing us all off the scent.
Right.
I think there's enough. Unless there's a really early run at tackle, I think there's enough depth there and players that they like that they could hold at 20. I really think that. There's always a chance, and we're getting to learn more and more about Omar. Obviously, what we've seen is he's not afraid to make moves, whether it's free agency, trading, and draft, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because that's exactly where I was going to go next, Jeff. Kind of going to where the sausage is made behind the curtain here. Do you feel like you had a better read on Colbert because of the bulk of experience just talking to him as compared now with Omar, where I know I'm still trying to get a feel for what he's saying and what he actually means when he says certain things?
Yeah, there was the proof was out there for years, for decades. You had a good sense of where they were going, what their priorities are. Now, the one thing we have learned about the Steelers is they like those, not that Kevin didn't. We heard from Andy Weidel about the toughness about how that factor plays in with their draft picks. And I think this too. A lot has been said about Kevin. I think for so many years with Kevin, they drafted at the bottom of the first round, and they had deeper rosters where they maybe took a chance here or there because they felt good about the players that they had in place. And that was pretty much the way it was up until the last 2-3 years. So they really didn't have to make some of those crazy moves because they liked the guys they had. They were just accenting or trying to build some younger guys to eventually take their spots.
Jeff, tell me if you feel the same way. And my read on Omar Khan is kind of opposite of how the Pirates are dealing with Jared Jones. And they give him an innings limit. It's like, okay, you're going to pitch 5 innings. You're going to pitch 6 innings yesterday, and then that's it. We're not going to move off. We're not going to waver off of our spot. I feel like with Omar Khan, every day is different. Like I could say something, he could say something yesterday, but today it would be different because there's so many moving parts and things unravel that I could change my mind as the minutes go on. That's how I feel like he operates. It's like, I may say something yesterday, but that doesn't mean that I wouldn't change my mind today.
Well, and he even said about trading up last year that he said it didn't come 3 minutes before the pick, but it was really close before the pick where they made that decision. I don't think he's so concrete in anything that he might change or might have some last piece or have something, at least make him think about something else. And, he doesn't have to worry about, like, the innings limits. Tomlin takes care of that because, JPJ was under basically an innings limit to start his career. And, I think Tomlin handles that part of it. But yeah, Doran, you're right about Omar. I think he's open to everything. And I think back occasionally when I think about moves that he makes, about him telling us when he was a kid how he would sit in his living room, play GM. And at times it's almost like he's that kid again. He's looking at all these options that maybe at times you overthink. But with him, it's like, hey, why not go for it?
Like, Crowley, it wouldn't shock me if they took a quarterback in the second round. That's kind of what I'm saying. It would not shock me if they did that.
One's there.
If one's there. If, like, Penix is there, it would not shock me for them to do that.
And he was the one who visited. He was the one quarterback that visited.
Oh, man. I don't know if I'm ready for that again. Thoughtfully non-rhythmic. All right, switching gears to the Buccos now, Jeff. I mean, you've been covering this team for a long time. You've covered all the teams for a long time. How does what Jared Jones has done through 5 starts compare to anybody else in Pittsburgh sports burst onto the scene? Like, the only guy that I can think of that came on and was like, oh, darn, yeah, okay, he belongs is like maybe Fleury in his first start against the Kings. Oh, yeah, you can see why they took him where they did. Or Sidney Crosby, obviously, but he had the hype in a way that Jared Jones didn't. Like, it feels to me like we're witnessing a legitimate unicorn here.
Yeah, I mean, I can think back to Pirates. Like when Garrett Cole started, there was this excitement about him. Top pick, you kind of felt good about where the franchise was going. There was anxiousness to get him up here, but he didn't throw out those strikeout numbers.
No.
Tyler Glasnow was a guy who had great stuff, but he couldn't find the plate. I mean, I think that's the thing about Jones. Was he have 4 or 5 walks this year, along with all of those strikeouts? So he's able to have that type of velocity and be able to put it mostly where he wants it to. That's what you need. McCutcheon said something after the game yesterday I thought was interesting. Is he's like, this is McCutcheon talking, that he reminds him of Jose Altuve, because he's a guy that you would look at and think, there's no way he can do the things that I've read about that he's done. And then you watch him and it's like, damn, like, how does this dude throw 100 miles an hour consistently when he's not 6'6" or 6'4", 240? It is remarkable. And I love the dude's attitude.
Oh my God.
Like, he's just like, let's go. Like, nothing bothers him. There's a focus. Like Shelton was saying, that when the days that he doesn't pitch, he's not goofing around. He's watching his guy pitch, other guys pitch, trying to get tips on the batters that he might face. Like, the dude is just locked in all the time.
And that was on full display when he struck out Bryce Terang, and Terang falls down, and you don't even get a smile. You don't even get a smirk at Jared Jones. And I think there was about 4 or 5 Brewers that kind of had a smirk after they struck out against this guy, just walking away from the plate, almost shaking their heads like, oh, my God, this guy really is as advertised. Jeff, what do you got on the website right now, man?
Yeah, and quickly, I'll say that Jones did it. He said, I didn't show emotion on the outside, but I was laughing on the inside.
How could you not be?
But he said he didn't want to show it. There's more about Jared Jones' start. Reaction from Jared, from Derek Shelton, Andrew McCutchen, about how all the things that went wrong went right, plus stuff pre-draft as well that's up there. What Mike Tomlin said about quarterbacks. Also, how these guys are approaching the draft. You can hear the entire news conference from yesterday. All of that at 937thefan.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. We'll talk to you on draft day.
Yes, let's go.
Let's go.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, buddy. Jeff Hathhorn, our sports director.